A question I get asked a lot is, can I drink alcohol when I have anxiety? And what I'm really getting asked is, can drinking alcohol perpetuate my anxiety and prevent me from recovering? So today, we're going to discuss this question and dive into what effect alcohol has on your anxiety. Let's get started. If you don't know my story, my anxiety began in my early 20s. My friends and I stayed out late drinking at a local brewery, and the next morning, as I was sitting at the kitchen table drinking coffee, I suddenly began having panic attack after panic attack. I had no idea what was happening to me since I'd never experienced a panic attack before. I thought there was something seriously wrong with me, like I was having a medical emergency or even that I might pass away. Well, that day changed the entire trajectory of my life because that day was the beginning of my downward spiral into nearly 2 years of debilitating anxiety and panic attacks. It was almost 2 years of complete torture and misery where my life became progressively more restricted. I couldn't go anywhere or do anything without worrying about how my anxiety would affect me. I felt more alone and terrified than I had ever been in my entire life. And the reality is that it all started with a hangover after consuming too much alcohol. I have many clients with similar stories, right? Where their anxiety began after consuming too much alcohol. But honestly, it really doesn't matter how your anxiety started. That has absolutely zero bearing on why you have anxiety now and how you're going to recover. Instead, what I want to focus on today is how alcohol can contribute to anxiety and it can be a roadblock in the path to recovery. All right, so here's the thing. When you drink alcohol, it can temporarily make you feel more relaxed. This is why you might find yourself having a drink when you're anxious. You might find that having a couple glasses of wine or a few beers makes you feel a heck of a lot better. You don't feel as anxious, your muscles aren't nearly as tense, and you aren't nearly as worried about your anxiety. It can be a really nice reprieve from anxiety. But here's the problem. Alcohol may make you feel better in the moment, but alcohol has what is commonly referred to as the rebound effect, in which the next day, your anxiety is actually even worse than normal. In other words, you can have more intense and frequent anxiety and panic attacks the next day. There are 3 reasons that alcohol does this. The first reason is that alcohol makes you dehydrated. Now, dehydration is a problem because your brain can misinterpret the physical sensations of dehydration as signs of a more serious problem, and that can trigger your anxiety. Also, dehydration can create symptoms that are very similar to anxiety, like dizziness and the racing heart. And this can be just enough trigger to create more anxiety. In other words, your brain can misinterpret these signs as signs of oncoming anxiety and make you tense up and give you more anxiety. The second reason is that alcohol disrupts your sleep. So while alcohol can actually make you fall asleep faster, it severely impacts the quality of your sleep, particularly your REM sleep. Now, REM sleep is the deep, restorative sleep that your body needs in order to recharge and recover. Without enough REM sleep, you can wake up feeling tired and groggy. And this fatigue not only makes you more likely to experience intense anxiety, but it also makes it more challenging to approach anxiety in the right way. In other words, you feel worn down and tired, so it's more difficult to implement the fearless approach and respond to anxiety in the right way. All right, the third reason that alcohol has a negative impact on your anxiety is because alcohol affects the balance of chemicals in your brain, particularly those that regulate mood and stress. Not only that, but it also interferes with the production of serotonin, which is a critical neurotransmitter that helps regulate your mood. These are 3 big downsides of alcohol. And when they're combined, they create that rebound effect. Now, the reason it's called a rebound effect is because you tend to feel a lot better when you're drinking alcohol, but then you rebound to the completely other side of the spectrum and you feel even worse the next day. And it reminds me of a quote that Tim Ferriss said. And he said, "Alcohol steals happiness from tomorrow." Now, this is generally true with or without anxiety, but I think it's incredibly applicable when it comes to the combination of alcohol and anxiety. In my own experience and my experience mentoring clients, the day after drinking alcohol is very likely to be filled with much more intense anxiety and even more panic attacks. So the bottom line is that your body doesn't need the additional stress from recovering from alcohol as you're simultaneously trying to recover from anxiety. Instead, you need to give your nervous system the best chance to heal and desensitize. And the fewer unnecessary stressors you expose it to, the better off you're going to be. In other words, without alcohol, you're in a better position to calm down your nervous system and get back to feeling normal. So, what do I recommend? I recommend avoiding alcohol completely until you notice significant improvements in your anxiety symptoms. That's going to help keep you on the path to recovery. It's also not going to create any unnecessary volatility in the recovery process. But I know there are going to be times where you crave a drink, or you feel the pressure to have a drink because you're out in a social situation. When that happens, what I want you to do is try one of the non-alcoholic beers or wines that's on the market. Now, non-alcoholic drinks have actually come a long way in that they taste almost the same as the alcohol version. In fact, some of my clients find that having a non-alcoholic drink still produces some of the relaxing qualities that alcohol usually does. And the reason it does that is because it sends the same cue to your brain that you're having a drink and it's time to relax. The next question my clients tend to ask is, all right, when can I start having alcohol again? Now, I recommend waiting several months into recovery before you start having any alcohol. I want you to be comfortably on the recovery path before you start having a drink again. You're going to know when this is because you will have experienced a significant reduction in your anxiety symptoms. Your anxiety simply isn't nearly as intense or as frequent as it previously was. And most of all, you aren't afraid of experiencing anxiety anymore. So, if you have a strong wave of anxiety, it doesn't bother you. You calmly surrender to those sensations and simply allow it to pass. When you get to that point, you can begin having alcohol again. Of course, I don't want you to overconsume, but at that point, you can feel free to have 1 or 2 drinks on occasion. To get to that point in recovery, you do need a clear framework to follow. And for that, I've provided the 5-step cure to anxiety and panic attacks in the link below. It shows the steps that I take my clients through to get them to a full recovery. These steps have taken clients from the darkest depths of anxiety back to a place where they're completely free from anxiety and all of its sensations. So go ahead and check that out in the link below. And it's completely free. It's my gift for you joining me here today. All right, that's it for today. But before we go, please hit the subscribe button and make sure you hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. I'd really appreciate it. I'll see you on the next episode.